If you're over 50, you have been sending out CVs that would have worked 10 years ago, and you've been hearing nothing back. Not because you're unqualified, not because you're out of touch, and not because you suddenly forgot how to do your job. It's because in many cases you're being filtered out before a human even seriously considers you. Today, I want to explain why that happens, what's really going on behind the scenes, and most importantly, what you can actually do about it. This isn't theory. This comes from 20 years of hiring people into my own teams, watching hiring decisions get made, and experiencing this myself lately in my career. Let me be clear about where I'm coming from. I'm not a headhunter, I'm not an HR influencer. I've spent the last 2 decades building teams, leading teams, and hiring people from junior roles to senior leaders. I've sat on hiring panels, I've had budget pressure, I've had deadlines, I've had weak performers, strong performers, and everything in between. And now, in my 50s, I've also been on the receiving end of the hiring process. So, what I'm sharing with you today is not ideology, it's pattern recognition. Let's get the uncomfortable part out of the way. Yes, ageism does exist. Yes, it's wrong. And no, nothing meaningful is coming to fix it. We can have awareness days. We can post about it on LinkedIn. We can agree it shouldn't happen. But hiring decisions have always been driven by fear, bias, risk, and speed. And that hasn't changed in many, many years. Every generation eventually becomes too old in the eyes of the one coming right behind it. And here's the uncomfortable irony. Many of us, especially Gen X, once complained about older generations blocking opportunity. Now we're shocked that the same dynamic applies to us. I decided to do this video not about to speak about fairness. It's to speak about understanding the game, you're actually playing. Let me translate some phrases you've probably heard. When an employer says, "We're looking for someone with high energy," that often means fast, adaptable, not resistant, not going to challenge how things are done. When they say you might be overqualified, that often means you're perceived as expensive, you may know more than the manager, you might question decisions, you might not be easy to control. And when they say we're not sure you'd be happy here, that usually means that they're projecting their own insecurity. They assume you'll leave, they assume you'll get bored, they assume this role is beneath you. None of this is written down, but I've watched these thoughts shape hiring decisions countless times. And most of the time, the person saying it doesn't even realize they're doing it. Here's a hard truth that almost no employer likes to admit: everyone leaves. Young people leave, mid career people leave, senior people leave. People don't stay in jobs for 20 years, not anymore. And employers do know that very well. So when you hear we want someone who'll be here long term, what they really mean is we want certainty in an uncertain world. But that certainty does not exist. Hiring younger employees does not guarantee loyalty, it just shifts the risk. Let's flip the logic. If most people stay 12 to 24 months, regardless of age, then the real question becomes who delivers the most value in that window? Someone who needs months to ramp up, makes predictable early mistakes, is still learning how organizations really work, or someone who has pattern recognition, has lived through pressure, knows how to prioritize, can execute without constant supervision. From a purely commercial perspective, hiring experience can be a better short term return on investment. The problem is, most employers don't think this way under pressure. They think emotionally, they think defensively, and they think simplistically. Here, where this becomes actionable. If you're over 50, your biggest obstacle in getting hired is unspoken fear. Fear the employers have about cost, control, compatibility, challenge. So if you sense hesitation during an interview, during a discussion with your prospective employer, there are two choices. Hope, they get it eventually, or surface it. I strongly recommend the second. A question I've used and coached others to use is this: can I ask you something directly? What about my background gives you hesitation? And then pause. Let them answer. You're not being confrontational, you're being professional. And if the concern is money, say it plainly. If it's scope, say it plainly again. If it's fear of overqualification, address it head on. because pretending it isn't there does not make it go away. One of the biggest mistakes experienced professionals make is leading with a bit of arrogance, or to put it kindly, past authority. Instead, lead with adaptability. When I stepped into roles later in my career, my approach was simple. I bring the experience, but I don't assume your way is wrong. I bring the knowledge, but I'm open and willing to learn something new. I learned how the team worked first. I respected the existing system. Then, once trust was built, I added value. That approach removes intimidation. It removes ego clashes and it shows maturity. So if you're over 50 and struggling to get hired, here's the reality. You're not broken. The system isn't fair, and waiting for it to change is a waste of time for everyone. Your leverage comes from understanding how decisions are made, removing unspoken fear, calling out the elephant in the room, framing your experience as value and not a threat. Take that swing, because silence guarantees rejection and clarity gives you a fighting chance. Let me hear if you have examples of overcoming obstacles due to age in the workplace. If that video resonated with you, please feel free to subscribe. I will appreciate it. See you on the next one.